Thank you for having me.
We are live. What's going on, YouTube? I'm your moderator and your host, Curious Formula. Thank you for joining us on day 4 of the 2024 Democratic National Convention. I have to mute out the music here because I will get a strike, as I've gotten the last 2 days. You know, they actually got rid of one of my videos because I was what's the word I'm looking for? Using music that I should have been using, and you know, it wasn't my fault. I didn't know anything about that. But we're here live, and we are at the last day. The big news today, the big event today is going to be Kamala Harris accepting the nomination of the Democratic Party. And yeah, this is going to be a good thing. It's the first time that a national party has nominated a woman of color to be its leader, and I'm excited. I don't know if you are excited as I am, but this is history. Whether you're excited or not, it's something that we should be thankful for and at least interested in learning some more about. So put your hands together, get your popcorn together, and let's have some fun because we're going to have lots of it today. Please subscribe, like, and comment below. Please make sure that you send comments. We're going to be looking at comments throughout the night, just getting set up here. We will be analyzing what has happened tonight and what has happened throughout this week. I think this has been a good week for Democrats. It's been a good week for the party. It's been a better week for the ticket. And there's a lot of reasons why. This is a lot looser. There's going to be a lot more speakers, so just get ready for it. Put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. We're trying to make sure we are good and that we're being heard. And so please make sure you do that. If you can hear me, I'm going to make sure I put that here. Place a 1 in the chat if you hear me. Make sure you go to my TikTok channel as well, and curious_formula, and like that as well. And just trying to get some notes here. People are sending me messages, letting me know we are on. And let's see. We got the Dixie Chicks here. They're going to sing, but I might have to black them out too. Let me just send this here. But yeah, we are happy about this. I think they're singing the national anthem. I still think I have to keep this one out too. And yeah, we're going to get ready to get started here. They're doing the national anthem. It's a lot more formal tonight, but it'll be a lot looser. There's going to be it's going to be formal but loose, as they say. And what's going to happen is that there's going to be a lot of speakers really defining and making, you know, the case, the biographical case, the professional case for Kamala Harris's campaign and for her election. Some of the things that I've already liked, they had the exonerated 5. You may know them as the Central Park 5, the 5 men who were wrongly accused and wrongly imprisoned and wrongly shipped to prison for the alleged SA of a runner many, many years ago. Combined total, those 5 spent 41 years in prison. They were exonerated when someone in prison admitted to the murders, to the assault, and the DNA matched up with the DNA that was found around her. Donald Trump famously spent $85,000 on a ad in the New York Times calling for their execution, not their conviction, their execution. And since they have been exonerated with DNA evidence to support that, he has refused to apologize, refused to take back what he said, refused to admit that he was wrong. And so this just shows the character of the man. And 4 of the 5 were on the stage tonight. 1, to his esteemed credit, is now an elected official, a city councilman in New York City, Yusuf Salam. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing to witness. So let's get with it. Let's listen to Kerry Washington. Bruce, let me know if you can put a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. If I'm clearer today and louder today.
3 nights have been extraordinary. And tonight, we hear from our next president, Kamala Harris.
Awesome. Kerry Washington, gorgeous, beautiful.
Here, I know that there are folks on social media already saying, go back to
6.
shut up and act. But I am not here tonight as an actor. I am here as a mother, as a daughter, as a proud union member. I am here as the granddaughter of immigrants, as a black woman descended from enslaved people. I am here tonight because I am an American and because I am a voter and because we the people
in the chat it says that Kerry Washington is Jamaican.
Are heard. Look, I know that I am the one standing on this stage, but I am not the lead character in this story. You are. All of you. You are the messengers. You are the fixers. Dare I say it, you are the Olivia Popes. You are the superheroes saving this democracy. It is you, not me, who have the greatest power to convince your loved ones to vote. So,
yeah, I'm still here, man. Can you hear me?
Told us, let's do something. Let's make a video. Everybody take out your
Let's make a video. Everyone's making a video.
Take out your phones. We're going to make a moment. Can somebody bring me my phone? I want to capture this historic moment and share it with the people.
Bruce, can you hear me? I'm going to make sure you guys can hear me. Okay, so I can turn the volume up on the broadcast.
We're going to take this video, guys. We're all going to take it together. We're going to post it to
Okay, I'm
social
going to turn
media.
it on.
Text your friends. Send this message out into the world. When I say when we fight, you're going to say? Are you ready? Okay, let's
Okay, how's that? Is that better?
Recording. You ready, Tony?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, ready?
All right, here we go.
When we fight. When we fight. Are you ready for Kamala Harris to
Whoopsie.
win? Good, because when Kamala wins, America wins.
Yeah.
We did it!
All right, we're
we did
back.
it, Joe. Thank you, Tony.
I don't get the
Turn the
tag.
volume
No,
a
you
little bit
gotta
more.
go.
Okay.
Bye, everybody.
Tony Goldwyn, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so listen. It's come to my attention that
All
there
right.
are some folks who struggle or pretend to struggle with the proper pronunciation of our future president's name.
Okay, how's that volume on the...
Hear me out. Confusion
here we go.
is understandable. Disrespect is not. So tonight, we are going to help everyone get it right. Here to help me are some very special guests.
So my kid just got a shirt that has the comma with the la on it. Kamala. I was like, okay, that makes it easy.
Thank you, ladies. Can you tell us your names?
Hello, everybody. My name's Amara. And my name is Leela, her little sister.
And what are you here to do?
To teach you how to say your auntie's name.
Okay, so how do you pronounce it?
First, you say comma like a comma in a sentence. Then you say la like la 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 la.
Put it together, and it's 1, 2, 3, Kamala. All right, so let's practice. Let's practice.
Everybody over here, say comma. Everybody over here, say la.
Together.
This is actually good.
For president!
Woo-woo! Yeah, the word is, as Bruce has mentioned in the chat, there's going to be a surprise performance by Beyonce, or at least an appearance by Beyonce. As many of you may know, there is a rumor that there will be 3 concerts by Beyonce and Taylor Swift that is actually making Donald Trump's and the Republicans' head explode, because they have this fascination that they think because Taylor Swift has so many supporters in red states, particularly young white girls and young white women, that she should be for them. Fox News has had articles and
please welcome
all kinds
Nina
of
Harris,
crazy
Ella Emhoff,
shows
and
about
Helen
like
Hutley.
why Taylor Swift should be a red MAGA person like Donald Trump. Well, and again, I don't know if you saw, Donald Trump tweeted out something and someone said, "Swifties are for you," and he's like, "I accept your support." I was like, well, here comes the lawsuit.
I'm
so
Nina.
I'm Ella.
And I'm Helena.
I grew up in Oakland, California, in a house full of
hey, D Sproul's on the house.
women.
He's in here. He's in here.
My mom, my grandma, and my auntie, who showed me the meaning of service. Helping her sister, a 17-year-old
Yeah, we use a
single
feed
mom,
from C-SPAN because we
fighting
don't want to
for
hear commentary
justice
from
for
other
the
sides. We
American
just want to
people,
watch the content and hear my
still
comments. That's all we
cooking
want to do
Sunday
here.
family dinner. She guided me.
There's
Now
some
she's
Imhoff
guiding my own
and
children,
Harris
and
family
I know
members.
She'll guide our country forward.
Kamala came into my life when I was 14. Famously a very easy time for a teenager. Like a lot of young people, I didn't always understand what I was feeling. But no matter what, Kamala was there for me. She was patient, caring, and always took me seriously. She's never stopped listening to me, and she's not going to stop listening to all of us.
Kamala Harris is my godmother. To me, her advice means
I agree with you,
everything.
Daryl.
Whether it's pursuing my passions, making an impact, or finding hope when the world doesn't feel so hopeful. She taught me that making a difference means giving your
So this
whole
is
heart
nice. This is
and
obviously,
taking
you know,
action.
there's a lot
She's fighting for
to
economic
Kamala Harris that
opportunity,
most of the country does not know
LGBTQ
yet.
plus equality,
This is the introductory. I mean, all week, obviously, there have been
reproductive
family
freedom,
members and
because
friends
we are
and
not
colleagues.
going
And today they
back.
did all the attorney generals that were in office when she
health
served as attorney
justice,
general in California, when she led the
environmental justice.
massive
And she isn't
nationwide
alone.
suit
We're all in this fight
during
together.
the housing bubble crisis
So
and
let's keep up the fight.
and
Let's
bubble
keep up the
burst.
joy.
We,
And
as
let's
a
elect
city
this
council person in Newark, I actually
extraordinary woman as
sponsored the
our
legislation
next
to
president.
the resolution to add us on to the lawsuit that actually got billions of dollars for families that lost their homes. In my city, my ward, we have more foreclosures than any other place in the city. And so this was an acute problem for me. Kamala Harris led the AGs
Please
around the
welcome
country
actor
in
and
this lawsuit that
comedian
won
D.L.
billions of dollars.
Hughley.
We actually had people in Newark who actually received dollars from that. So it was, you know, they were attesting to her. But tonight you're going to hear the personal stuff mixed in with family stuff and professional stuff. So just get ready for a lot of that. And D.L. Hughley, who has admitted he made a mistake about Kamala Harris and has been on amends last few ways for the last few weeks. D.L. Hughley wearing his Q pen.
In 3 months, ain't gonna be no living with y'all. I can tell you this. I don't blame Donald Trump for not wanting to debate Kamala. I've been married to a black woman for 40 years and I ain't won one debate. I'm owing 93,000. Now, of course, Trump is saying that Kamala isn't black. I guarantee you this, Kamala's been black a lot longer than Trump's been a Republican.
That's good. He gets the bell. He gets the bell, Bruce. He gets the bell.
And if he keeps sliding in the polls the way he is, the only way he can keep Kamala out of the White House is if he buys it and refuses to rent it to her. Of course, Kamala's getting broad support. They got black men for Kamala, white men for Kamala, Latinos and Asians for Kamala. They even
right.
have Republicans for Kamala.
It's true.
Republicans for Kamala. I guess Donald Trump will finally know what it's like when you get left for a younger woman. But seriously, Kamala knows the truth about the American dream.
That was a good one, yeah.
That hard work is not alone enough. Hard work alone is not enough to succeed. That you need access and information and opportunity. And she knows that some folks are often denied those very things. As president, she will give each and every one of us a fair shot in life. But I have to admit, I didn't always believe that. I mean, if you told me the 15-year-old me would be on stage supporting a prosecutor and a teacher,
That was good.
there is no way that I would have believed you. But because of that, I made assumptions about Kamala's record. And I often repeated them to a lot of people.
Yep.
Then one day, Kamala invited me to her house. She put her hand on my shoulder and she asked me to do some research. Something I had never done. Something a lot of people I know had never done before. Imagine attacking someone's character without a single Google search. So I did what I should have done in the first place. I learned that she had done for us exactly what she promised to. I believe that your apology should be as loud as your accusation, and I'm here apologizing in front of the whole damn world.
All right, all right.
I am.
Like that. That's Congresswoman Kamala Dove.
I was wrong.
And Doug
I'm
Emhoff.
so very glad I was wrong because, Kamala, you give me hope for the future, a future where my grandchildren, Nola and Stevie, had the freedom to control their own bodies, where they have the opportunity to go as far as their wits and their talents would take them. That future, ladies and gentlemen, is possible, but only if we elect Kamala Harris as the 47th President of the United States of America.
All right, all right.
I will say this to you, the best piece of advice I've ever gotten in my entire life is you don't have to know what you will do, just know what you won't. And we won't go back.
I knew he was going to throw up the sign, and we all knew that, right? He was going to throw up the cue hook. Get him off the stage. Get him off the stage. The Honorable
energy in this room
Chris Swanson is coming up
electric.
next, state elected official.
And you can feel it everywhere, all over the country. In the coming weeks, I want us to find ways to maintain this energy
They're actually
and
moving
this
pretty
joy
quickly tonight.
and this commitment, because there will be days when the work ahead seems impossible. And when that happens, I know what I do. I get involved. I get engaged. I ask myself, how can I be of service to my community? Because community is why we do this. Am I right?
Right.
Yes, we do this for our children, for our parents, for our teachers and care workers who treat our loved ones like their own. We do this for working families who make this country thrive. We do this for the planet and for each other. We do this for justice and for peace and for democracy. And as we are about to hear, we do this for the safety of our communities.
So these are going to be gun violence speakers led by Honorable Chris Swanson and Congresswoman Lucy McBath, member of
Please
Congress,
welcome
Democrat from
Genesee
Georgia.
County, Michigan Sheriff Chris Swanson.
He will kick it off, and then Congresswoman Lucy McBath will come on along with gun violence speakers. I don't know Chris Swanson's background, but Lucy McBath lost her son to gun violence, and that's what triggered her, made her run for office.
All people. In 2020, righteous anger spilled over into the streets of Flint, Michigan. One bad decision from either side, and there would have been bloodshed. But that didn't happen. We laid down our riot gear, and we embraced the community, and instead of hate, we chose hope.
That dude looks like a sheriff, doesn't he?
On January 6th, the opposite occurred. That day was paved with division, deceit, and denigration. Police officers were attacked that day. It could have been stopped. We need a leader who will embody what's affixed to all three sides of my sheriff patrol cars: protect, serve, and unify.
Nice.
Kamala Harris.
Yeah, this flat
is my
top,
leader.
and that dude's got big, broad shoulders and big arms. That dude looks like a sheriff. I'd
Kamala
vote for
Harris
him.
protected us by putting violent criminals and sex offenders behind bars. If I was in a courtroom, she's exactly the tough prosecutor that I'd want to see.
Not Otis.
As vice president,
Martin Lawrence.
she served America by keeping us safer. And I can testify firsthand, where I come from, crime is down and police funding is up.
Okay.
As president, Kamala Harris will unify our country. She will bring us together because our country needs a leader who will go toe-to-toe with drug cartels and bullies.
Nice.
One who has already taken the oath, raised her right hand to advocate for the people. I can tell you in 2020, we were able to turn a protest into a peaceful movement by walking together. One city, one community, and one country. America, let's walk. Let's walk. Let's walk together and let's elect Kamala Harris and turn hate into hope yet again. Thank you.
That's pretty good, actually. That's pretty good, actually. Now I can't get Otis from Martin out of my head now.
Adopting, and then out of nowhere, I got pregnant. Jordan was so much
This is
fun as
McBath,
a
Congresswoman,
child.
Democrat from Georgia.
3 of those rounds he aimed at Jordan. Jordan didn't deserve to die that way.
Reports of an active shooter at a high school.
These students have now lived through so many of these shootings since they were born almost.
We were praying and crying. I don't know how we're alive.
An active shooter at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas. Multiple children have been killed.
Most of the body so mutilated that only DNA test or green Converse could identify.
Trump did nothing on guns and was proud of it.
There was great pressure on me. We did nothing.
After a mass shooting in Iowa, Trump said,
I have to get over it.
"You never get over it." Kamala Harris and Joe Biden refused to get over it. As district attorney, she got illegal guns off the street. As Attorney General, she took on transnational crime rings and stopped gun trafficking. As Vice President, she helped pass the most sweeping gun violence legislation in 3 decades, keeping guns out of the hands of criminals, expanding background checks, closing loopholes.
We'll finally pass red flag laws, universal background checks, and an assault weapons ban.
Kamala understands the fight we're in.
The power is with the people.
And gives people like me, survivors like me, hope.
That's effective right there.
When I worked for Everytown
Please
for gun
welcome
safety.
Georgia Representative Lucy McBath.
When I worked for Everytown for gun safety and Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in
Yeah, there's a bunch of these commercials that are really good that the DNC needs to repackage, at least in digital ads across the country in battleground states
You've just
and swing districts, even in red states.
Many more to tell.
Well, purple states and battleground states.
On December 14th, 2012, I walked into Sandy Hook School. I stopped at the office, chatted with my principal, then started my day with my second graders. Suddenly, a loud crash, like metal folding chairs falling. 154 gunshots blaring. Hiding in the coats, trying to sing with my students, trying to read to them, trying to drown out the sounds. Terror, crying, running. I carry that horrific day with me. 20 beautiful first grade children and 6 of my beautiful colleagues were killed. They should still be here.
Wow. That is, you have kids, boy, you know, that thing just hits different, especially young kids.
It's 10:30 a.m. at Robb Elementary in Uvalde. The school is recognizing my 10-year-old daughter, Lexi, for receiving all A's. She receives a Good Citizen Award, and we pose for photos. She wears a St. Mary's sweatshirt and a smile that lights up the room. 30 minutes later, a gunman murders her, 18 classmates, and 2 teachers.
Gosh.
We are taken to a private room where police tell us she isn't coming home. Uvalde is national news. Parents everywhere reach for their children. I reach out for the daughter I will never hold again.
Ooh.
My niece, Sandy Patrice, was 22. She drove to Myrtle Beach for sun and fun and motorcycle parades. Hours later, my phone rang. Shooting on the beach. No one can find Sandy. I stayed calm. You see, my mother, Patricia Ann, had been shot and killed by an abusive partner. I was calm then, too. I got to handling business. I called relatives, the police, hospitals, and I kept calling, voice steady, heartbeat pulsing. Then I was connected to the coroner.
Wow.
10 years of waiting, and Sandy's murder is still unsolved. I'll keep calling, and I'll keep fighting.
I was in high school when my classmate got shot. It changed my story. Instead of worrying about taking a test, I started worrying about living to take another test. They say schools are for learning, and I did learn a lot that day. I learned how to run, how to hide and drop, that what happens in the news can happen to me. But I learned something else too, that we can write and must write a new story if we choose to.
That's it right there. You know, when people dismiss these kind of stories or say that, you know, the Second Amendment right, you know, is supreme, it's an incorrect reading.
Our stories,
but it's also America leads the world
no mistake.
in deaths by guns.
Our losses do not weaken us. They strengthen our resolve. We will secure safer futures that we all deserve. We will organize. We will advocate. We will run for office. And we will join with Americans from small towns and and big cities to keep our communities safe. And we will elect leaders like Kamala Harris, who won't just empathize, but will act.
Yeah. And again, it's the culture in America, right? You know, no other country allows the kind of access to the kind of killer guns that we do. No other country has the access to guns without sensible gun regulations that we do.
Please welcome
And so per capita, we
Arizona
kill more people, more young people.
Gabby
You know, the greatest threat of death for young people is gun murder. And that goes for not just these mass killings in AK-47. This goes for all of our neighborhoods and the urban communities as well. So here's another victim who survived to tell the story. Congresswoman Gabby Giffords was shot, left for dead, and survived and has come back. And her husband, stood by her side, is now Senator Mark Kelly.
Hello, fellow Americans!
She's had to learn to walk, to speak, to think,
I was born in the great
and to do
state
basic things
of
all over again.
I was born with grit. I grew up racing motorcycles, mucking stalls, and exploring the beautiful desert. I fell for an astronaut. For 5 years, I served in Congress from a swing district. Everybody called me a rising star. Then on January 8th, 2011, a man tried to assassinate me. He shot 19 people. He killed 6. Terrible, terrible day. I almost died, but I fought for my life and I survived.
Wow, she's a walking miracle. There's Lauren Underwood with her AKA pen.
To walk again, one step at a time. I learned to talk again, one word at a time. So many people helped me as I worked hard to recover, including a decent man for Delaware who always checked in. He still does.
Awesome.
Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you for everything.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe.
Joe is a great president.
Hey,
My friend
Dante, welcome
Kamala
aboard, man.
will
Thanks for
be
coming
a
through.
great president. She is tough.
Bruce keeps changing his name on here. Now he's Black Uhuru.
Kamala can beat the gun
Good for
lobby.
the alphas to come here, man. Listen
can
to
fight gun
unabated comment without the commentary that you normally get on this other stuff, man. I'm gonna just chime in where I
Kamala
need to here.
stood up to Wall Street and the drug company. She will protect abortion access. She will defend our freedom. She saved lives. Join me in voting for Kamala Harris. Bravo! Thank you.
Good job, Gabby. It is amazing that she can even do basic stuff. It is amazing. Mark Kelly will be back to speak later. But again, another victim of gun violence. She was actually having a town hall meeting in a mall, and someone just came in and started shooting. Another craziness that doesn't happen anyplace else except America. So I got to put this on so I can not get strikes against me. Let me see if they turn the music off. I can go back on.
School about gun violence.
Okay, yes.
Parkland happened, and all I could think about is that I wanted to keep my kids safe.
On July 4th, 2022, I was next in line to walk in the Highland Park Independence Day Parade when gunshots erupted. 7 people were shot and killed, and 48 more were injured.
Vice President Harris has been a gun sense champion since she was our California AG.
We have 2 options in November. we have Kamala Harris, who has already proven her leadership in the Biden-Harris administration. They passed the first ever comprehensive gun reform in 30 years. Meanwhile, Donald Trump has cozied up to the NRA and the gun lobby.
I have full confidence in Vice President Harris that she's dedicated to and committed to finding a solution to end gun violence.
Got to beat out all those wonderful songs. So I guess next, it's going to be a performance by Pink. I guess she's taking the stage now that I can see, so I have to mute that out, but this gives us an opportunity to talk. If you are in the chat, if you stop by, you can't stay, please just subscribe, like, and comment below. We are building this as we fly. Our next goal is to try to get 2,000 people to support us. We're at 1,204, and we're trying to build us up. Actually, yeah, I think that's some number we're at right now. What's been happening so far is a lot of just, again, hitting the points that's been hit all week. Tonight they're talking about gun violence and how that affects us. There'll be Senator Mark Kelly will be back to talk, Leon Panetta, and they're going to slide through about 5 or 6 or 7 more speakers as we get ready for Kamala Harris. So let's talk a little bit about what her speech is going to be. Kamala Harris will accept the nomination tonight. A couple of things that she has to do, in my opinion, as a Zeta Phi Beta member. There's a couple of things she has to do going forward, and I talked about it today during my live on TikTok, and I just kind of want to share those thoughts with you. So, and I'll share a little bit at the end of this, at the end of the convention, what I think we are in terms of where we are in terms of the state of the race. But Kamala Harris is, despite those of us who kind of have an ear and a knowledge about what's happening in the world and knowledge about what's happening politically, have to recognize that most Americans don't know who Kamala Harris is. And I know that sounds crazy. I remember being an elected official myself and recognizing that, like, the average citizen, like in my own ward, who I've been representing for 8 years, like, did not know who I was, right? And we sometimes take for granted those of us who are well-educated, who are high-information voters, those of us who participate in the electoral process, those of us who vote, those of us who get emails and spend money and give money to candidates, that we somehow are in the know, when most of Americans are working 2 jobs or are dealing with family issues and could care less. So that's where we find ourselves, that even as the vice president, she is still an unknown quantity by and large. So tonight she has to introduce herself in a way, because she will get probably the largest viewership of the convention will happen when she speaks. And she'll have rapt attention not only from supporters, but mostly from people who don't know her, and have waited this whole week to hear from her, to hear who she is, where her heart is, what her values are, what her mission is, what her vision is, and what her plan is for the next 4 years. She has an opportunity to do a few things. Not only to introduce herself, but to tell us specifically what she plans on doing. In the same way that Joe Biden had to establish himself separate and apart from Barack Obama, she has to do that now. She has to step out of the shadow of Joe Biden, and she has to step into her own time, her own shadow, her own spotlight, to talk about what her vision is, what she plans on doing. And she has to be specific. Now, my hope is that, and I've been saying this for the last month since she's been the nominee, or the presumptive nominee, that she has to chart a course in the middle. Yes, I'm a pragmatic progressive. That's my orientation in terms of political policies and my political leanings. But America is in the middle, and they're looking for a moderate. Polls for the last 2 years have told us that most Americans did not want Joe Biden, and they did not want Donald Trump. And Joe Biden is now out. And so there's only one candidate in this race who Americans have said consistently that they do not want to be the president, and that is Donald Trump. So there is an opportunity here for her to grow. There's an opportunity for her to take the middle that feels abandoned and had felt abandoned by both the Democrats and the Republicans. There's an opportunity here for her to now take on that mantle of leadership. She needs to be central, moderate, direct, strong, evoke some humor, but make people relatable to her in terms of what she plans on doing for this nation.
Depend on the leadership of the United States of America. And a strong America remains indispensable to the world. Our democratic ideals of freedom and liberty inspire billions, and our military is the strongest in the world. Our military is a force that underwrites global stability and our national security.
So Mark Kelly now will speak.
Please welcome Arizona Senator Mark Kelly.
Mark Kelly has been a critic of the Biden administration in terms of their border policies. He obviously represents the state of Arizona, a border state. It'll be interesting to see what he says about the border and his support for Kamala Harris.
Chicago.
Because that is a weak spot still for Democrats nationally.
So, President Obama had to follow Michelle. I had to follow Gabby and Pink. Gabby amazes me every single day.
Well, she should. She should.
She was able to walk out and address you tonight because she's a fighter. And thanks to a team of doctors, nurses, and especially her speech therapist.
That's awesome. Awesome.
We all need a team. I've flown into space 4 times. I've flown into combat nearly 40 times. Not once did I do that by myself. It took a team to accomplish a mission. It always does. I flew in the Navy during the first Gulf War. America rallied our allies to kick out a tyrant who invaded a neighbor. Today, Vladimir Putin is testing whether we're still that strong. Iran, North Korea, and especially China watch closely. What's Trump's answer? He invited Russia to do, and these are his words, not mine, whatever the hell they want. Vice President Harris has always championed America's support for NATO, for Ukraine, and for the Ukrainian people. On the Senate Intelligence Committee, she investigated Russian interference in our election. She defends free and fair elections everywhere. You already know how Trump feels about those. Donald Trump skipped his intelligence briefings. He was too busy sucking up to dictators and dreaming of becoming one himself.
It's a good line.
Trump thinks that Americans who have made the ultimate sacrifice are suckers and losers. If we fall for that again and make him the commander-in-chief, the only suckers would be us. Kamala Harris
Spike Lee in the
knows
house.
that standing with our allies means standing up for Americans. She'll keep modernizing our military to support our troops and to support our veterans like our next Vice President, Tim Walz. The world laughs at Trump, literally. But folks, it is not funny. When he was president, that meant the world was laughing at us.
That's right.
The threats we face are too serious. The sacrifices our service members make are too sacred. The alliances we've spent decades building are too critical. That's what's at stake now. And the choice isn't even close. But in Arizona and nationwide, this election will be.
Right. That's the key takeaway here,
We'll
folks.
win in the same way we launch rockets into space and land fighter jets on an aircraft carrier as one team on one mission. State by state, voter by voter, coming together. No country is better than ours at solving big problems. So, on November 5th, let's prove that America is still the leader the world needs today by electing the leader we need right now, Kamala Harris. Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
So he did address the border. That's interesting. I thought they might bring him on to do that. He spoke about the foreign threats to us. Need to have a president that's friends and respected by our allies. But again, it drives home the falsehood that Donald Trump says all the time, that the world respects him. And it's like, there's not a leader that respects him. If you look at my lives and my content, you'll see people all there saying all the time, yet the world respect. I'm like, you're just listening to Donald Trump speak at his rallies.
My fellow Americans.
Leon Panetta,
I'm
former
proud
defense
to have
secretary for the
served
Obama administration, also worked for the Clinton
Army,
administration.
the Congress,
He'll speak about defense as
White
well.
House, Chief of Staff, CIA Director, and Secretary of Defense.
He looks good. He's old as soot, so it actually looks pretty good for his age.
I've looked into the eyes of our warriors and deployed them into battle. I gave the order directing our Special Operations Forces to fly 2 helicopters 150 miles into Abbottabad at night. And by the time the sun rose, Osama bin Laden was dead.
That's right. There's a picture in the White House of that moment.
Because nobody attacks our country and gets away with it. Nobody.
Well said, Leon.
That's what our warriors do. That's what our warriors do. Our warriors need a tough, cool-headed commander-in-chief to defend our democracy from tyrants and terrorists. We need Kamala Harris behind the resolute desk.
Nice.
She knows a tyrant when she sees one. And our allies know a leader when they see one. On the Senate Intelligence Committee and as vice president, she worked with more than 150 world leaders. She's looked our allies in the eye and said, America has your back. Trump would abandon our allies and isolate America.
Oh yeah, no, he's the one that pulled the trigger. There's a picture in the White House in the Situation Room right now. If you go there, of that time when Obama's there, Clinton's there, Leon Panetta's there, and they made the decision to go in and get him.
Listen to President Reagan. President Reagan. Isolationism never was and never will be an acceptable response to tyrannical governments. Never.
True. So I tell you, this Republican Party is not your dad's Republican Party. The party of Reagan is dead.
They can do whatever the hell they want. Kamala Harris tells tyrants, the hell you can, not on my watch.
Nice.
She's worked with President Zelensky to fight back against Russia. She knows that protecting their democracy protects our democracy as well. Look, Donald Trump does not understand the world, and he does not understand the service and sacrifice of our military. Our fallen veterans are not suckers. They are not losers. They are our heroes.
Big up to the military and everybody who served.
Kamala Harris will honor our veterans. And in Tim Walz, we will have a vice president who has served in uniform honorably for 24 years. Kamala Harris understands this moment. It is a moment of danger and a moment of opportunity. She'll keep America's military the strongest in the world, the strongest ever known. And she understands what our military is for. The role of our military is to defend us from foreign enemies. It is not to threaten Americans, and it sure as hell isn't to put immigrants in camps.
Whoa. Right.
Every president since World War II, Republican and Democrat, has shared the belief that America must protect democracy in the world. Every president has honored our veterans and their sacrifices. Every president, but one. But one. So we face a critical choice: to vote for someone who stands with our military and stands up for democracy, or someone who will disrespect our heroes and undermine our democracy. My fellow Americans, there is only one choice. One choice. And let me tell you something. When she takes her oath of office, as she will this January, our allies will cheer, our enemies will fear, and we will have a commander-in-chief that we can trust. God bless our veterans, and God bless our country.
Well said, Leon. Leon Panetta was also a member of Congress, so he knows how to give a speech. We've got 7 more speakers to go. I promise you they'll go fast.
Please welcome Arizona Representative Ruben Gallego.
Ruben Gallego is running for Senate against crazy Carrie Lake, is only the way to say it. As somebody who didn't think he had a shot, this is Kristen Sinema's seat that she's not running for anymore after basically leaving the party. He's a progressive who's actually ahead in the polls there, but it's going to be tight for his as well. But he's running a hell of a race. I'm not going to ring the bell.
My mom raised us alone on a secretary's salary. I slept on the floor. I worked every job I could: meat packing, construction, making pizzas. I made it to Harvard with no money or connections. Other kids were happy because they were at Harvard. I was happy because I finally had a mattress. Then I enlisted, fought alongside my brothers with Lima 325 in Iraq. They called us Lucky Lima, but our luck ran out. We saw some of the heaviest combat of the war. And when we got home, the government failed to help us readjust. We have a duty to care for our patriots who serve our nation. For the Vietnam veteran in Buckeye who relies on the VA for his medication. For the Afghan veteran in Pittsburgh who finally got treatment for his PTSD. For the Marine in Milwaukee who relies on the benefits she earned. For my Navajo brothers and sisters who serve the Marines with me, I remember you too. Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are fighting for them. Kamala Harris has delivered more benefits to more veterans than ever before, and has achieved the lowest veterans unemployment rate in history. Vice President Harris has stood up for us and our families always. Tim Walz served for 24 years. His passion for veterans earned him respect on both sides of the aisle, and he stands with us too. In fact, let me introduce you to some of the many Democrats who understand what service means, because we put country over politics.
All right, Ruben.
We were proud to wear the uniform. And we're proud serving our country
Let's
in
get the
city
bell.
halls, state capitals, the U.S. House, and the Senate.
That's awesome.
These veterans represent the best of our country. We
Senator
stand
Duckworth,
united as
great state of
veterans,
Illinois.
Democrats, and patriots
Lost
to fight
2
for
legs
everyone who serves.
in combat.
But
Martelli.
politicians like Donald Trump, they don't stand with us. They call patriots like Senator McCain losers.
There's Congressman Bobby Scott.
John McCain was an American hero. Show some respect. Trump's Project 2025 will slash veteran benefits and force VA hospitals to close across the nation. Show some respect. So, for the 18-year-old who decides to enlist, for the families like mine who prayed every night that
There's
their loved
former
one would
Congressman
come
Anthony
home,
Brown back there as
for
well.
our troops stationed thousands of miles away, for my Marines of Lima Company, let's elect Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, who don't just respect our service, but revere it. Because the veterans who defended this country aren't just the reason we can sleep at night. They're the reason we can dream. And together, we'll fight for our veterans and everyone who served our country. Thank you.
It's good to have Ruben Gallego actually do this. He, like I say, he's running in a purple state. It leans, I think Arizona leans right, it leans Republican, but to take the angle that he's actually a candidate, progressive, running well, but letting him in, let him lean in on the veteran piece, it's going to help his race and help him. Look at the Americans flashing the USA signs again. This is good look for the Democratic Party. Something we don't normally see at Democratic Party conventions. We shy away on things like patriotism and shy away. Not to say that they're not, but they don't put them on the forefront. Saying USA chants, it feels again like the Democrats are trying to take on at least the enthusiasm of the Republicans from the 80s when you had people like Ronald Reagan showing Americans very proud of their countries and waving flags and saying, USA and the whole nine. This is reminiscent of that. This is reminiscent of a party that has joy, as has been said many times here, that are happy to revel in
Please welcome
what they consider to be patriotism and claiming that mantle, while the Republicans continue to be isolationists in terms of, and angry and mean in terms of their delivery and what they think about the future. Governor Gretchen Whitmer, probably a person who is most upset that Kamala Harris is a nominee because I think she had designs on running for president in 2028. I think it would have been a kind of a cool thing. She was on the short list, at least top 10 to be vice president. It would have been interesting to have 2 women on the ticket.
But in Detroit, they call me Big Gretch.
But she still has a future.
Donald Trump called me that woman from Michigan as an insult. Being a woman from Michigan is a badge of honor.
Looks nice. I like the little Michigan thing that
Like
she has on
women
it.
across America,
Yeah, it's
we
good stuff,
just
for sure.
GSD. Get stuff done.
Get stuff done. I like that.
At 29, I joined the sandwich generation. Sandwiched between working and raising my newborn and caring for my mom, who was dying from brain cancer. It was hard, but not extraordinary. It's life. Those nights reminded me who I was fighting for. People just trying to make it. Kamala Harris knows who she's fighting for, too.
What's up?
She took care of her mom, who also battled cancer. As president, she'll fight to lower the cost of health care and elder care for every family. She's lived a life like ours. She knows us. Donald Trump doesn't know you at all. You think he understands that when your car breaks down, you can't get to work? No. His first word was probably chauffeur. You think he's ever had to take items out of the cart before checking out? Hell, you think he's ever been to a grocery store?
Come on now.
That's what the chauffeur is for. But Kamala Harris, she gets us. She sees us. She is us. Look, we've all lived through a lot of history over the past few years. Floods and fires, an attempted coup, a plot, and a pandemic. It's exhausting. We don't know what the next 4 years will bring. But what we do know is this. Through it all, your life won't stop. You're going to have to get to work, pick up the kids, and pay your bills. And then one day, when you're just trying to get everyone out the door, a news alert goes off. Something happened. Something hit the fan. You'll ask, is my family going to be okay? And then you'll ask, who the hell is in charge? What if it's him? What if it's that man from Mar-a-Lago?
Wow.
I know, in a crisis, we need someone strong enough to come up with a plan, to tell the truth, and to bring people together. Right now, before the crisis, is when we get to choose. Why wouldn't we choose the leader who's tough, tested, and a total badass?
Yeah.
I know who I want as our commander-in-chief. America, let's choose Kamala Harris.
That's it. Well, Ronnie, going down the home stretch, they have Eva Longoria is going to come down. I have no clue why Eva Longoria is speaking. I don't know what she does. I know she's an activist. I know she's a former actress. But what has Eva Longoria even been in recently?
Actress, director, and philanthropist, Eva Longoria.
Oh, now she's an activist and director and philanthropist. Okay. Yeah, okay. But after her, we get into prime time. We have 3 speakers before the VP comes up and speak. Mark Robinson is a nutbag, and he's going to talk himself out of winning that race. He could actually win that race in North Carolina for governor if he would just stop being an idiot.
To be part of this
Believe it or not.
historic moment, and y'all are part of it. Look, I have known Kamala Harris for more than a decade, and she comes from a family a lot like mine, and I'm sure a lot like yours. We were both raised knowing that no one was going to hand us anything, especially as women. That we were going to have to touch every rung of the ladder to get ahead. We were going to have to work really hard. Now, she worked at McDonald's, but I worked at Wendy's. And look at us now. You see, Kamala and I were able to see beyond the horizon because our families supported our big dreams. Well, guess what? As Americans, we're all part of one big family. Somos familia. And as familia, we have to have each other's back.
So they're doing a good job of getting the speakers out of the way so that she can speak again. And if you all follow my content the last couple of days, I've been saying how important it is to get the main speakers to speak before the 11 o'clock hour.
So let me tell you,
now we're in the 10 o'clock hour because you want to capture the news to get the hit from the speech that everybody's listening to, then watch the news afterwards and get the hit afterwards. And the DNC has been really playing it tight. The first night, they really disrespected Joe Biden by letting him speak way beyond prime time. I mean, he didn't finish at like 12:15. He didn't get on there till like 11:30, 11:35. You know, they will stop the broadcast or go late with the news. You know, 11:15, 11:20, 11:30 at the latest. They didn't make it with Joe. On Tuesday night, they got it in. I think Barack Obama spoke at like 11:15-ish, and got it done by like 11:30. Wednesday night, they were still a little, you know, with Tim Walz. He was done by 11:30, not bad. They got to get Kamala Harris in before 11. Okay, this is a good broadcast. I like this. She's got to start speaking by 10:30.
Let's get to work. Let's turn all of this enthusiasm and joy into action between now and November 5th. Let's go. She se puede. She se puede.
All right. Next is former Congressman Adam Zinziger, Republican.
Please welcome former Illinois Republican Representative Adam Kinzinger.
Adam is one of the few Republicans who served on the January 6th bipartisan panel committee. He's also somebody who lost his seat because he voted for impeachment. He has called Donald Trump out. And basically said he's not worried because he's younger than Donald Trump and the party will one day thank him for the principal stand he took, and I agree with him. He's on the outs right now, the Republican Party, but they will come back to him and like-minded Republicans like him in the future.
That we have to defend truth, defend democracy, and decency. I was just a kid when I was drawn to the party of Ronald Reagan, to his vision of a strong America, the shining city on a hill. I was a Republican for 12 years in Congress, and I still hold on to the label. I never thought I'd be here, but listen, you never thought you'd see me here, did you? But I've learned something about the Democratic Party, and I want to let my fellow Republicans in on the secret. The Democrats are as patriotic as us.
It's true.
They love this country just as much as we do. And
see, there's the patriotism is working.
And they are as eager to defend American values at home and abroad as we conservatives have ever been. I was relieved to discover that because I've learned something about my party too, something I couldn't ignore. The Republican Party is no longer conservative. It has switched its allegiance from the principles that gave it purpose to a man whose only purpose is himself. Donald Trump is a weak man pretending to be strong.
Wow.
He
That's a
is
good one.
a small man pretending to be big. He's a faithless man pretending to be righteous.
Woo!
He's a perpetrator who can't stop playing the victim. He puts on, listen, he puts on quite a show, but there is no real strength there. As a conservative and a veteran, I believe true strength lies in defending the vulnerable. It's in protecting your family. It's in standing up for our Constitution and our democracy. That is the soul of being a conservative. It used to be the soul of being a Republican, but Donald Trump has suffocated the soul of the Republican Party.
Wow.
His fundamental weakness has coursed through my party like an illness, sapping our strength, softening our spine, whipping us into a fever that has untethered us from our values. Our democracy was frayed by the events of January 6th, as Donald Trump's deceit and dishonor led to a siege on the United States Capitol. That day, I stood witness to a profound sorrow, the desecration of our sacred tradition of peaceful transition of power, tarnished by a man too fragile, too vain, and too weak to accept defeat. How can a party claim to be patriotic if it idolizes a man who tried to overthrow a free and fair election? How can a party claim to stand for liberty if it sees a fight for freedom in Ukraine, an attack pitting tyranny against democracy, a challenge to everything our nation claims to be, and it retreats? It equivocates. It nominates a man who is weirdly obsessed with Putin.
True.
And his running mate who said, quote, "I don't care what happens in Ukraine." Yeah, and he wants to be vice president. Yeah. How can a party claim to be conservative when it tarnishes the gifts that our forebears fought for? Men like my grandfather, who served in World War II, who believed in a cause bigger than himself, and he risked his life for it behind enemy lines. To preserve American democracy, his generation found the courage to face down armies. Listen, all we're asked to do is to summon the courage to stand up to one weak man. Some have questioned why I've taken the stand I have. The answer is really simple, ladies and gentlemen. We must put country first.
Well said.
And tonight, as a Republican speaking before you, I'm putting our country first. Because the fact is, I do belong here. I know Kamala Harris shares my allegiance to the rule of law, the Constitution, and democracy. And she is dedicated to upholding all three in service to our country. Whatever policies we disagree on pale in comparison with those fundamental matters of principle, of decency, and of fidelity to this nation.
See the row there.
Listen,
Governor
to my fellow
Newsom and
Republicans,
Pelosi, California delegation.
if you still pledge allegiance to those principles, I suspect you belong here too. Because democracy knows no party. It's a living, breathing ideal that defines us as a nation. It's the bedrock that separates us from tyranny, and when that foundation is fractured, we must all stand together, united, to strengthen it.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Another bang.
If you think those principles are worth defending, then I urge you, make the right choice. vote for our bedrock values and vote for Kamala Harris. God bless you.
Good job, Adam. And he's right. His version of the Republican Party will be the one that survives Donald Trump.
Please welcome
Jamie
lawyer,
Raskin, my
policy
congressman
advocate,
from Maryland,
and
said
sister
to
of
Liz
the
Cheney when he
Vice
served on the
Maya Harris.
insurrection committee together. I want to get back to the time that we can debate foreign policy and tax policy. Like, I want a regular Republican Democrat debate, not talking about this man who wanted to basically threaten democracy in our own country. And that's the Republican Party we want to get back to, is the loyal opposition, the way the Constitution is supposed to have it.
her own path in America. She came here to pursue an education.
Maya Harris, sister of the
but
Vice
she
President.
stayed here to build a life. Her name was Dr. Shamala Gopalan Harris.
All right.
But we called her Mommy. Mommy was so many things to so many people. A civil rights activist, a scientist, a devoted mother to her 2 little girls. But most of all, Mommy was a trailblazer who defied the odds and defined herself. And when it came to Kamala and me, Mommy had great expectations for us, but she had even greater expectations of us. She raised us to believe that we could be and do anything. And we believed her. You see, Mommy understood the power and the possibility that come with knowing and showing who you truly are.
I know it's true, Bruce. I have not heard the Harrises talk about their dad in a long time. There's a video that I found of Kamala's father speaking at my alma mater, American University, in 1988 when I was a student there. I was wondering what month it was because the year I pledged an American. But he spoke on a panel on some international economic thing at American University. Somebody found the video. So I don't know where Daddy is in all
different
this
perspectives.
discussions.
But what binds us together
Thinking about the Temptation
is
song.
the
Is Papa a Rolling
desire
Stone?
to
I
be
hope not.
free,
He was a
to
brilliant
fulfill
economist.
our
Exactly.
God-given
That's what I thought. And
Kamala's
even him speaking on this panel, it was
has
brilliant.
been about fighting for each of us to have that freedom. And like so many Americans, Kamala knows.
I think they might be
what it's
downplaying
like
because
to
he
be
was
underestimated and be
a fan of
counted out.
Marxism, so
She
that does
knows
not
what
help
it's like
her.
to be the
And so bringing him
underdog
up, I guess, in terms
and
of his
yet still
economic
beat the
beliefs and what he
odds.
thought was right for the
And
economy
now,
would not be a
she
good
has
look for her
created
running for president. So maybe that's why
so
they're
much
downplaying him.
electricity, so much optimism, so much joy throughout the nation, and it is why we need her leadership in this historic moment. We are living in a time when some are trying to divide us, to separate us in ways that make it difficult for us to come together. Well, look, my sister rejects that view. Where others push darkness, Kamala sees promise. Where others feel detachment, Kamala fosters connection. Where others want to drag us back to the past, my sister says, hold up now, we are not going back. Because Kamala understands we have so much more in common than what separates us. She knows the measure of our success isn't just winning an election. It's about who we bring along and lift up in the process. And so as I look out at
I
all
love the
of you
homemade
today
sign. Go, little
and
girl.
take in this incredible moment, I so wish that Mommy could be here tonight. I can just see her smiling, saying how proud she is of Kamala.
I know the head roll. She
without missing a
said,
beat.
no, we ain't.
She said, that's enough. You got work to do. She would tell all of us to roll up our sleeves and get to work.
Yeah.
To elect a leader who sees the potential in each of us. A leader who cares for all of us.
Oakland.
A leader who fights for every one of us. Our
That's her niece
Democratic
with the sign.
nominee,
Interesting.
my
Okay.
big sister, the next president of the United States, Kamala Harris.
So as we do this, I always tell people, people say, well, how do they get all the signs around the place there? There's 15,000 volunteers at the convention. And as a former delegate, I will tell you that they had people sectioned off all around each side and then down the sides. And the signs come out during long videos or during long speeches. And they pass them out to people, and you're supposed to put them down by your feet, and they tell you exactly when you're supposed to take them up. Some people don't do that, but it's all orchestrated. It's done quite quickly and fast, depending on the speaker. They don't have to do that too much today, because Governor Roy Cooper is the last speaker before the VP. They'll see a video, and that's when they'll pass out the signs for Kamala Harris. But Governor Roy Cooper, Attorney General, when the Vice President was Attorney General in California, I had him on my short list. He was my favorite to be on the ticket because he's from North Carolina. But he felt like he needed to serve in North Carolina because he felt like Mark Robinson, what Bruce was talking about in the comments here, who's a lieutenant governor and a Republican and crazy, would try to usurp the powers of governor if he went campaigning for the next 3 or 4 months before his election. He couldn't take that risk, and he needed to make sure the next governor is a Democrat in the state. That race is pretty close. So kudos to Governor Roy Cooper and kudos for his service. Let's listen to him. Last speaker before VP Harris comes up to speak.
But Kamala said, hang on a minute. I've met these families. I know what they've been through, and they deserve more. She went toe-to-toe with some of the world's most powerful executives, and she refused to give in. Let me tell you, this was a huge risk, but she knew it was a risk worth taking. That's Kamala. And we all know what happened. The banks caved. That $4 billion for California families became $20 billion. That was the first time I witnessed Kamala in action. And what I saw was a leader who does exactly what she says she's going to do, who never will settle for less. America, we got a lot of big fights ahead of us, and we've got one hell of a fighter ready to take them on. I know that.
There you go, Bruce.
I know
That's 2 for you, man.
Because I know her. And tonight, I want the American people to know, even if you don't agree with her on everything, Kamala Harris will fight for
Yeah, Patty.
you.
Hey, good to see you here, Patty. Give you the bell. Ding, ding, ding.
Families who need
Welcome
better
to the
healthcare
chat.
or a safer place to live.
No, I agree with you. I think all of the
For you.
I don't think she could have lost with any of the candidates that she was considering. I think they all were head and shoulders, cream of the crop. I mean, there was definitely a demographic she had to add on to her ticket to balance it out, not just geographically, but I think ethnically. As soon as she was announced as the presumptive nominee, if you watch my content, I said, listen, she needs to get a white male. He needs to look good in a suit, preferably from the southern state that is in play or from a battleground state or have influence over a battleground state. I personally felt it needed to be a moderate. That's why I was a big Josh Shapiro fan. I think he hit everything else, and now also he's good on our issue, Patty, in Pennsylvania. But and he's who I put forward. If you watch my content, and I'm getting a lot of backlash now because people are like, "I told you Waltz was better," and I don't have a disagreement about that. I think Waltz has done incredibly well. But all these guys were good. There you go.
Stand up, Arizona. Stand up, America. Are we going to stand up?
Oh, yeah.
Are we going to fight? Are we going to vote?
Are we going to vote?
Are we going to win? You bet we are. Let's go get them.
Yeah, Patty, Gretchen was my curveball. I thought in the same way that Bill Clinton and Al Gore came out together, two Southern white guys who were teletgenic and handsome and young. You know, it was like a curveball to what people normally think. I thought Harris Whitmer would have been another curveball. Two younger women, dynamic, black, white. I thought that would have been a real curveball too. Just don't know if America's ready for that yet.
She was raised by a working mom. We taught her about standing up for what's
Stay
right.
tuned. The VP is coming up. All the speakers are done. This is the moment we've been waiting for.
The lessons
a lot riding on this
of our
speech.
mother, the fighting spirit of our mother, the compassion.
She was all of 5 feet tall. If you met her, you would have thought she was 7 feet tall. And our mother, if I'd ever come home complaining about anything, she wouldn't have it. The first thing she'd say is, well, just stop the complaining. Just tell me what you're going to do about it.
And since she was a young girl, Kamala Harris has been fighting for families like the ones she grew up with.
That is Kamala. She can't help herself from standing up for people and standing up for what she thinks is right. She has been that way our whole lives. Being a protector is what led her to become a prosecutor. Looking back now, I could say it was her calling.
As a courtroom prosecutor, she went after predators who targeted women and children, and fraudsters who ripped off working families. And she put dangerous gang members and human traffickers behind bars.
We didn't have partnerships with DOJ or FBI or DEA or any of those law enforcement agencies. Now, we all work collaboratively. She was the person who built the foundation in how we do criminal justice in America.
As Attorney General of California, she held the big Wall Street banks accountable.
Timing is perfect. It's only not 10:30 yet. Get the long video out, and she'll get on before 11 o'clock. That's a sweet spot.
Colleges that were scamming students, and in the Senate, she fought for her constituents.
Gives them time to put all the signs out, like I told you, so people can hold the signs up. This is good timing. DNC got it right tonight.
That give the government the power to make decisions about the male body.
I'm not thinking of any right now, Senator.
She fought to keep our children safe from the terror.
That was a good video the other night. Her grilling.
How many of you guys had to have a
Trump
drill
folks.
where you learned about how you need to hide in a closet or crouch in a corner in the event that there is a mass shooter? Look at that. Look at that.
On the Intelligence Committee, she defended our nation against foreign adversaries. And in 2020, she made history as the first woman to be elected vice president of the United States.
Oh, Kavanaugh.
She cast the tie-breaking vote to
She
deliver
actually went,
urgent
I don't
relief to the
know.
American people
Then
during
she said,
the
okay. He
pandemic.
goes, wait, I have, no, I
She
don't.
beat
She
Big
goes, should we
Pharma to
move
lower
on?
prescription drug
he
costs
said,
and cap the cost of
it's
insulin.
hilarious. She's good at grilling. If you ever watched her in the Senate, she was good at grilling folks on the judiciary next to Cory Booker. They were almost like tag team partners.
And fought too long to see our daughters grow up in a world with fewer rights than our mothers.
Because she's never been afraid to stand up to powerful interests.
Sometimes people will open the door for you and leave it open. Sometimes they won't. And then you need to kick that door down. Excuse my language.
Now, she's running for president, still fighting for families like the one she grew up with.
Our campaign is about saying we trust the people. We're saying we just want fairness. We want dignity for all people. And we are a work in progress. We haven't yet quite reached all of those ideals, but we will die trying because we love our country. We believe in our country.
They play too much of the song. I might have to go out, folks. I don't get a strike.
Divide us, trying to pull us apart. We know what we stand for, and we stand for the people, and we stand for the dignity of work, and we stand for freedom. We stand for justice. We stand for equality. And so we will fight for all of it.
That's who Kamala Harris is. That's what she believes. And that's what she'll fight for every day.
Okay, unfortunately, I have to mute the video, guys. I'm sorry. I get strikes if I have too much music that I don't have authorization to focus on. As soon as I start playing the song, I can get back into it. So I'm just going to keep going in and out until I can get it. Yeah, that's true, Patty. Very true. It's still playing the song, so I have to keep talking over it. Folks, I'm sorry. The handful of you guys that are here, hopefully it will stop it.
Democratic nominee
Okay,
for president.
here we go.
Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
All right, folks, this is the moment we've been waiting for. Okay, got to mute it again. But I'll keep it until she gets here. Freedom is a theme that we've been talking about this entire convention. It's what has been the lead-off headline, banner, headline for this campaign. It's what I've been saying last week. If you follow my content, I've been saying this is what she has to concentrate on. Pick up freedom as a concept, as a guiding force, as a pillar of this campaign, because the Republicans have dropped it off on the side. And I'd love to see that every night this week we have been talking about freedom. We've been talking about using it and what our interpretation of freedom and justice is, and what that means in terms of patriotism for America and American families. As I mentioned to you, they got the signs out now. Let's bask in this. I know, Patty. That's what I said too. They struck me. You can't even get my content from last night's convention. I actually did this stuff right, technically and everything else, and I can't play it now because I got too many strikes. They took the video down, so I'm not playing it. I'm playing safe tonight. But doing that video, you saw they gave out the sign for Kamala. Here we go. There's the nieces. She looks presidential. She looks good. Oh, that's awesome. Look at that. They're so excited. She's saying, auntie, auntie.
Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
A chance of USA coming down. I love it. The patriotism is with the Democrats this year, folks.
Thank you all.
The love of country, the belief that we're the city on the hill, the Reagan reference is with the Democrats this year, folks. The Republicans are the party of doom and gloom. What a role reversal over the last 40 years.
Please, thank you so very much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Okay, let's get to business. All right. So let me start by thanking my most incredible husband, Doug.
Doug Emhoff.
For being an incredible partner to me, an incredible father to Cole and Ella, and happy anniversary, Dougie.
Today's the anniversary of Kamala and Doug.
I love you so very much.
Prophetic.
To our President Joe Biden.
Yes.
When I think about the path that we have traveled together, Joe, I am filled with gratitude. Your record is extraordinary, as history will show.
That's right.
And your character is inspiring. And Doug and I love you and Jill and are forever thankful to you both.
Classy.
And to Coach Tim Walz.
You're here. I know.
You are going to be an incredible vice president.
What can Doug do for the anniversary next year? I don't know. You can't go on a worldwide trip, right?
To the delegates and everyone who has put your faith in our campaign, your support is humbling. So, America, the path that led me here in recent weeks was no doubt unexpected. But I'm no stranger to unlikely journeys. So, My mother, our mother, Shamala Harris, had one of her own, and I miss her every day, and especially right now. And I know she's looking down smiling. I know that. So my mother was 19 when she crossed the world alone, traveling from India to California with an unshakable dream to be the scientist who would cure breast cancer.
Wow.
When she finished school, she was supposed to return home to a traditional arranged marriage. But as fate would have it, she met my father, Donald Harris, a student from Jamaica.
There you go, Bruce. She mentioned Dad.
They fell in love and got married, and that act of self-determination made my sister Maya and me.
Wow. It's fate.
Growing up, we moved a lot. I will always remember that big Mayflower truck packed with all our belongings, ready to go to Illinois, to Wisconsin, and wherever our parents' jobs took us. My early memories of our parents together are very joyful ones. A home filled with laughter and music, Aretha, Coltrane, and Miles. At the park, my mother would say, "Stay close." But my father would say, as he smiled, "Run, Kamala, run. Don't be afraid. Don't let anything stop you."
Wonderful.
From my earliest years, he taught me to be fearless. But the harmony between my parents did not last. When I was in elementary school, they split up. And it was mostly my mother who raised us. Before she could finally afford to buy a home, she rented a small apartment in the East Bay. In the Bay, you either live in the hills or the flatlands. We lived in the flats. A beautiful working-class neighborhood of firefighters, nurses, and construction workers.
Nice.
All who tended their lawns with pride. My mother, she worked long hours, and like many working parents, she leaned on a trusted circle to help raise us. Mrs. Shelton, who ran the daycare below us and became a second mother. Uncle Sherman, Aunt Mary, Uncle Freddie, Auntie Chris. None of them family by blood, and all of them family by love.
Wow.
Family who taught us how to make gumbo, how to play chess, and sometimes even let us win. Family who loved us, believed in us, and told us we could be anything and do anything.
Mm-hmm. It's an American story right there.
They instilled in us the values they personified: community, faith, and the importance of treating others as you would want to be treated, with kindness, respect, and compassion. My mother was a brilliant, 5-foot-tall, brown woman with an accent. And as the eldest child, I saw how the world would sometimes treat her. But my mother never lost her cool. She was tough, courageous, a trailblazer in the fight for women's health, and she taught Maya and me a lesson that Michelle mentioned the other night. She taught us to never complain about injustice, but do something about it.
There you go.
Do something about it.
That's the bell.
That was my mother. And she taught us, and she also taught us, and never do anything half-assed. And that is a direct quote. A direct quote. I grew up immersed in the ideals of the civil rights movement. My parents had met at a civil rights gathering, and they made sure that we learned about civil rights leaders, including the lawyers like Thurgood Marshall and Constance Baker Motley, those who battled in the courtroom to make real the promise of America. So at a young age, I decided I wanted to do that work. I wanted to be a lawyer. And when it came time to choose the type of law I would pursue, I reflected on a pivotal moment in my life. You see, when I was in high school, I started to notice something about my best friend, Wanda. She was sad at school, and there were times she didn't want to go home. So one day I asked if everything was all right, and she confided in me that she was being sexually abused by her stepfather. And I immediately told her she had to come stay with us, and she did. This is one of the reasons I became a prosecutor, to protect people like Wanda.
Wow.
Because I believe everyone has a right to safety, to dignity, and to justice.
Woo. All week they've been hinting at this story. This is the first time that she's explained it in context.
When I had a case, I charged it not in the name of the victim, but in the name of the people. For a simple reason. In our system of justice, a harm against any one of us is a harm against all of us.
Wow. Having worked in the prosecutor's office, that's exactly what the prosecution does.
To console survivors of crime, to remind them no one should be made to fight alone. We are all in this together. And every day, in the courtroom, I stood proudly before a judge, and I said 5 words: Kamala Harris for the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And to be clear, my entire career, I've only had one client, the people.
Nice.
And so, on behalf of the people, on behalf of every American, regardless of party, race, gender, or the language your grandmother speaks, on behalf of my mother and everyone who has ever set out on their own unlikely journey, on behalf of Americans like the people I grew up with, people who work hard, chase their dreams, and look out for one another, on behalf of everyone whose story could only be written in the greatest nation on earth, I accept your nomination to be President of the United States of America.
That was almost chill-worthy. And she said it like that. Wow. I think I'm getting a little emotional here. That, awesome. Awesome way to start the speech. Awesome way to accept the nomination. Yeah, I'm ringing that bell. Ringing the bell, Patty. Wow.
Our nation with this election has a precious, fleeting opportunity to move past the bitterness, cynicism, and divisive battles of the past, a chance to chart a new way forward. Not as members of any one party or faction, but as Americans.
I like the
let
appeal.
me say, I know there are people of various political views watching tonight, and I want you to know, I promise to be a president for all Americans. You can always trust me to put country above party
Woo!
and self, to hold sacred America's fundamental principles, from the rule of law to free and fair elections to the peaceful transfer of power.
Wow. 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 Man.
I will be a president who unites us around our highest aspirations, a president who leads and listens, who is realistic, practical, and has common sense, and always fights for the American people. From the courthouse to the White House, that has been my life's work.
I love it.
As a young courtroom prosecutor in Oakland, California, I stood up for women and children against predators who abuse them. As Attorney General of California, I took on the big banks, delivered $20 billion for middle-class families who faced foreclosure, and helped pass a homeowner Bill of Rights, one of the first of its kind in the nation.
Nice job. She's being specific. Exactly what I said she had to do.
I stood up for veterans and students being scammed by big for-profit colleges, for workers who are being cheated out of their wages, the wages they were due, for seniors facing elder abuse. I fought against the cartels who traffic in guns and drugs and human beings, who threaten the security of our border and the safety of our communities. And I will tell you, these fights were not easy. And neither were the elections that put me in those offices. We were underestimated at practically every turn. But we never gave up, because the future is always worth fighting for.
Whoa. Whoa.
And that's the fight we are
There you
in
go.
right now, a fight for America's future.
Nice.
Fellow Americans, this election is not only the most important of our lives, it is one of the most important in the life of our nation.
Nice.
In many ways, Donald Trump is
Yeah.
an unserious man.
You're right, Patty.
But the consequences of putting Donald Trump back in the White House are extremely serious.
Woo! She just called him out there, Patty.
Consider not only the chaos and calamity when he was in office, but also the gravity of what has happened since he lost the last election.
That's right.
Donald Trump tried to throw away your votes. When he failed, he sent an armed mob to the United States Capitol, where they assaulted law enforcement officers. When politicians in his own party begged him to call off the mob and send help, he did the opposite. He fanned the flames. And now, for an entirely different set of crimes, he was found guilty of fraud by a jury of everyday Americans, and separately found liable for committing sexual abuse. And consider what he intends to do if we give him power again. Consider his explicit intent to set free violent extremists who assaulted those law enforcement officers at the Capitol. His explicit intent to jail journalists, political opponents, and anyone he sees as the enemy. His explicit intent to deploy our active duty military against our own citizens. Consider the power he will have, especially after the United States Supreme Court just ruled that he would be immune from criminal prosecution.
It's true. Yeah, Patty. She's going for the gusto now. Going for the jugular.
Donald Trump with no guardrails. And how he would use the immense powers of the presidency of the United States. Not to improve your life, not to strengthen our national security, but to serve the only client he has ever had, himself.
Good point. Well said.
And we know what a second Trump term would look like. It's all laid out in Project 2025, written by his closest advisors, and its sum total is to pull our country back to the past. But America, we are not going back.
There you go.
We are not going back. We are not going back.
We're not going back.
We are not going back to when Donald Trump tried to cut Social Security and Medicare. We are not going back to when he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act, when insurance companies could deny people with pre-existing conditions. We are not going to let him eliminate the Department of Education that funds our public schools.
Well said.
We are not going to
go.
let him end programs like Head Start that provide preschool and childcare for our children. America, we are not going back. And we are charting a new way forward. Forward to a future with a strong and growing middle class, because we know a strong middle class has always been critical to America's success. And building that middle class will be a defining goal of my presidency.
Nice.
And I'll tell you, this is personal for me. The middle class is where I come from. My mother kept a strict budget. We lived within our means, yet we wanted for little. And she expected us to make the most of the opportunities that were available to us and to be grateful for them. Because, as she taught us, opportunity is not available to everyone. That's why we will create what I call an opportunity economy, an opportunity economy where everyone has the chance to compete and a chance to succeed. Whether you live in a rural area, small town, or big city. And as president, I will bring together labor and workers and small business owners and entrepreneurs and American companies to create jobs, to grow our economy, and to lower the cost of everyday needs like health care and housing and groceries. We will provide access to capital for small business owners and entrepreneurs and founders. And we will end America's housing
Patty, you smell the focus groups? I do too.
and protect Social Security and Medicare.
The opportunity economy. I like it.
Now compare that to Donald Trump, because I think everyone here knows he doesn't actually fight for the middle class. He doesn't actually fight for the middle class. Instead, he fights for himself and his billionaire friends. And he will give them another round of tax breaks that will add up to $5 trillion to the national debt. And all the while, he intends to enact what in effect is a national sales tax, call it a Trump tax, that would raise prices on middle-class families by almost $4,000 a year. Well, instead of a Trump tax hike, we will pass a middle-class tax cut that will benefit more than 100 million Americans.
All right. That's a specific item. You guys know I've been taking notes of the specifics. So,
Friends, I believe America cannot truly be prosperous unless Americans are fully able to make their own decisions about their own lives, especially on matters of heart and home. But tonight, in America, too many women are not able to make those decisions. And let's be clear about how we got here. Donald Trump handpicked members of the United States Supreme Court to take away reproductive freedom. And now he brags about it. In his words, quote, "I did it and I'm proud to have done it," end quote. Well, I'll tell you, over the past 2 years, I've traveled across our country, and women have told me their stories. Husbands and fathers have shared theirs. Stories of women miscarrying in a parking lot, developing sepsis, losing the ability to ever again have children, all because
yeah, I think that's
doctors
going to
are
come,
afraid
Patty.
they may
Talking
go
about
to jail
ballot races, I think
for
you're
caring
right.
for their patients.
I can't do this by myself. I'm going to need a
Couples
team in
just trying
both
to grow
houses
their
of Congress to
family.
do this.
Cut off in the middle of IVF treatments. Children who have survived sexual assault, potentially being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. This is what's happening in our country because of Donald Trump. And understand, he is not done. As a part of his agenda, he and his allies would limit access to birth control, ban medication abortion, and enact a nationwide abortion ban with or without Congress. And get this, he plans to create a national anti-abortion coordinator and force states to report on women's miscarriages and abortions. Simply put, they are out of their minds.
They're still hiring, Patty. They're still hiring. The Republicans will respond that Donald Trump has said he is not supportive of a national ban. And he's publicly said that.
Why
but
exactly is it that
it's
they
interesting.
don't trust women? Well, we trust women. We trust women. And when Congress passes a bill to restore reproductive freedom, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law.
And that's a down ballot race reference, Patty. She should have mentioned it there too.
Election, many other fundamental
Because they got to send her a
freedoms are
bill.
at stake.
She can't do it without them sending her a
freedom to
bill.
live safe
And that means she needs
from
Congress.
gun violence in our schools, communities, and places of worship. The freedom to love who you love openly and with pride.
There's freedom again.
The freedom to breathe clean air and drink clean water and live free from the pollution that fuels the climate crisis. And the freedom that unlocks all the others, the freedom to vote. With this election, we finally have the opportunity to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the Freedom to Vote Act.
All right.
And let me be clear. After decades in law enforcement, I know the importance of safety and security, especially at our border. Last year, Joe
gonna
and
be
I
good.
brought together Democrats and conservative Republicans to write the strongest border bill in decades. The Border Patrol endorsed it. But Donald Trump believes a border deal would hurt his campaign. So he ordered his allies in Congress to kill the deal. Well, I refuse to play politics with our security, and here is my pledge to you.
Okay, here it comes.
As president, I will bring back the bipartisan border security bill that he killed, and I will sign it into law.
There you go.
I know we can live up to our proud heritage as a nation of immigrants and reform our broken immigration system. We can create an earned pathway to citizenship and secure our border.
Right, that's it. Yes, that's actually a good thing. I would have phrased it differently. I would have phrased it like
And
we can do
America,
both and we need to do
must
both.
also be steadfast in advancing our security and values abroad. As Vice President, I have confronted threats to our security, negotiated with foreign leaders, strengthened our alliances, and engaged with our brave troops overseas. As Commander-in-Chief, I will ensure America always has the strongest, most lethal fighting force in the world. And I will fulfill our sacred obligation to care for our troops and their families, and I will always honor and never disparage their service and their sacrifice.
There it is.
I will make sure that we lead the world into the future on space and artificial intelligence, that America, not China, wins the competition for the 21st century, and that we strengthen, not abdicate, our global leadership. Trump, on the other hand, threatened to abandon NATO. He encouraged Putin to invade our allies, said Russia could, quote, do whatever the hell they want. 5 days before Russia attacked Ukraine, I met with President Zelensky to warn him about Russia's plan to invade. I helped mobilize a global response, over 50 countries, to defend against Putin's aggression.
Wow. Something we didn't know.
As president, I will stand strong with Ukraine and our NATO allies.
That's a commander-in-chief sound right there. That's clear, that's specific, and that's a commitment.
To the war in Gaza, President Biden and I are working around the clock, because now is the time to get a hostage deal and a ceasefire deal done.
Well said. Well said.
And let me be clear, I will always stand up for Israel's right to defend itself, and I will always ensure Israel has the ability to defend itself, because the people of Israel must never again face the horror that a terrorist organization called Hamas caused on October 7.
That's right. Call it out for what it is. It's exactly right.
Unspeakable sexual violence and the massacre of young people at a music festival. At the same time, what has happened in Gaza over the past 10 months is devastating. So many innocent lives lost. Desperate, hungry people fleeing for safety over and over again. The scale of suffering is heartbreaking. President Biden and I are working to end this war, such that Israel is secure, the hostages are released, the suffering in Gaza ends, and the Palestinian people can realize their right to dignity, security, freedom, and self-determination.
Boom. That is the best commitment to end that struggle and for a long-term solution that we have heard from the Democrats since last year.
Necessary to defend our forces and our interests against
Finally,
Iran
a two-state
and
solution.
Iran-backed terrorists. I will not cozy up to tyrants and dictators like Kim Jong-un who are rooting for Trump.
Woo!
Because, you know, they know he is easy to manipulate
you're right,
with
Patty.
flattery and favors. They know Trump won't hold autocrats accountable because he wants to be an autocrat himself.
Come on, Kamala. That's exactly right.
And as president, I will never waver in defense of America's security and ideals, because in the enduring struggle between democracy and tyranny, I know where I stand and I know where the United States belongs.
Woo! Wow. Wow.
So fellow Americans, I love our country with all my heart. Everywhere I go.
Wow.
Everywhere I go.
I like it too, Patty.
Everyone I meet, I see a nation that is ready to move forward, ready for the next step in the incredible journey that is America. I see an America where we hold fast to the fearless belief that built our nation and inspired the world, that here in this country, anything is possible, that nothing is out of reach. An America where we care for one another, look out for one another, and recognize that we have so much more in common than what separates us.
She needs to address Donald Trump calling us a third-rate nation, a third-world nation right now.
None of us has
How we're
to
not that.
fail for all of us to succeed. And that in unity there is strength. You know, our opponents in this race are out there every day denigrating America.
There she comes. Here it
Talking
comes.
about how terrible everything is.
Yes.
Well, my mother had another lesson she used to teach. Never let anyone tell you who you are. You show them who you are.
Nice.
America, let us show each other and the world who we are and what we stand for. Freedom, opportunity, compassion, dignity, fairness, and endless possibilities.
Boy, she's cranking today. She's cranking today.
We are the heirs to the greatest democracy in the history of the world. And on behalf of our children and our grandchildren and all those who sacrificed so dearly for our freedom and liberty, we must be worthy of this moment. It is now our turn to do what generations before us have done, guided by optimism and faith, to fight for this country we love, to fight for the ideals we cherish, and to uphold the awesome responsibility that comes with the greatest privilege on earth, the privilege and pride of being an American.
Man. Will Jawando, my councilman.
So let's get out there. Let's fight for it. Let's get out there. Let's vote for it. And together, let us write the next great chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told. Thank you. God bless you. And
That's a hell of a speech.
the United States of
Hell of a
America.
speech. Hell of a speech. You just heard the nominee of the Democratic Party for 2024 hit the right notes. I got to turn it down, I'm sorry. Hit the right notes in this campaign. She did what she needed to do in this speech. When we talked about it, she had to come off as strong. She had to come off as clear-minded. She had to introduce herself to America in a way that she had never shown herself before. She had to make sure that as a woman, that she looked every bit as strong as a man on that stage, that she could command the room, that she could command the attention of America, that she could command a policy prescription, that she could command a vision for this country. And she did all of the above and then some. She talked about her early career. And she talked about how her parents and her mother specifically inspired her and encouraged her to be the kind of woman that she is, and how that then led her into being the young lady that she became, and how personal relationships with friends led her to be the defender of people, led her to be the person who looked out for people. With her best friend who was being SA'd, and then how that led her to a life of being a prosecutor, because she recognized that victims could not fight by themselves, that they needed the state, they needed institutions, they needed people to be their back so they wouldn't have to fight alone. And that's what drove her career. And she's continued to fight for people throughout her career, for those who could not fight for themselves. And that's why she said, I love what she said, that's why I always start off by saying, Kamala Harris for the people. The speech was specific in talking about how she wants to create an opportunity economy and how she planned on doing it. She talked about, sorry, I got to get past this strike here. She talked about how, she is, the work she did to bring real dollars to people who were part of the housing burst that happened in the 2010s. And I was a former city councilman in Newark, New Jersey. I was part of that national lawsuit that she led, that she worked with other attorney generals on. I sponsored a resolution of the Newark City Council to make sure that Newark was a party to that lawsuit for all the foreclosures we had in my particular ward. And so I knew what she had done, and I'm glad she got a chance to explain it. She talked about the future is always worth fighting for, and that this is a fight for our future. She definitely couched this fight. She definitely couched this election, these next 74 days, as a fight for our future. And that's how she has to make these stakes and these consequences as she goes forward. She said, I know what she talked about, international policy. Wow. She actually knocked the ball out of the fence, out of the stadium when talking about foreign affairs. Again, something that people did not think was her strong suit. It was her strong suit tonight. She talked about the respect that NATO needs to have for an American president, how they don't have it for Donald Trump, how she's met with 150 world leaders, how she gave us new ideas, how she told President Zelensky 5 days before the Russian attack that it was coming, and that he needed to prepare for it, and that she fortified NATO and our allies to support Ukraine. And she juxtaposed it to Donald Trump and J.D. Vance saying, we don't care what happens with Ukraine. She talked about that in a way that we had never heard it before. She talked about the border patrol. and what's happening at the border, the criticism she took for being the quote-unquote border czar, something I think is an Achilles heel for the Democrats. She made sure that she pushed back and said, yes, we fought to create a bipartisan piece of legislation that was supported by the Border Patrol itself, and that Donald Trump stopped it from happening. But when she becomes president, she'll make sure that she supports that bill and signs that bill when it meets her desk, the toughest Border Patrol legislation in decades. She said quite simply, when it came to talking about our role in the world and the leadership America should take, I know where I stand and where the United States belongs. Just wild stuff, really, really good red meat stuff. And she talked about the future and freedom and what the Democrats mean by freedom. The freedom for autonomy over your body, the freedom to love who you want, the freedom to have opportunity and have access to it and have it be able to be reachable, the freedom to study where you want to study, the freedom to live where you want to live and to congregate how you want to congregate and to praise God the way you want to. This was an all-encompassing speech that was incredibly well done all the way around. We got some more music to play a little bit here before they cross me out. So this is all the celebration that I have to mute, unfortunately. They're the balloons, and they do have it. Yes, this was great. This was great all the way around. Some parts of tonight that I love, that I liked. I'll let you watch all the celebration that's going on. But the Exonerated Five was my favorite, one of my favorite parts today, where you had the five people formerly known as the Central Park Five who were convicted of essaying a jogger in the 90s and the jump to conclusions that Donald Trump did. $85,000 Donald Trump spent on a full-page ad calling not for their prosecution, not for their indictment. He called for their execution. And since that time, they have been exonerated. The person who did commit the crime and the DNA matched it, the signs proved that he was the one who did it, had confessed, and they were exonerated. And even after that Donald Trump refused to apologize, refused to admit that he was wrong, refused to even acknowledge their innocence as to the symbol, to the kind of character that he had. It's reminiscent of what Oprah Winfrey said yesterday about Donald Trump. She said character and values matter most of all, and decency and respect are on the ballot in November. They kind of hit that point home. The second thing I liked about tonight was the gun violence speakers. If you have children and you were not moved by what those victims of gun violence who have lost their children, and the one speaker who lost his classmates, but this has made him an activist. If you're not moved by that and the words and leadership of Congresswoman Lucy Bath, Democrat from Georgia, then I don't know what planet you were on. They made the case that something has to be done in the same way that was said the other night. And I believe it was, I'm trying to think who the speaker was who said it, but it was Tim Walz. It was who said basically that you can't. The responsibility to our kids is greater than the Second Amendment. They drilled that point home. Then Leon Panetta got up and said, that was my third favorite one, that every president has stood up for democracy around the world except for one in the history of America, further laying the groundwork for the Kamala Harris speech that she gave about what our role needs to be in the world. And then the fourth thing I love was the Democratic Armed Service veterans led by Congressman Ruben Gallego, who came out to show their commitment to being veterans who support this ticket as members of Congress. And then obviously Adam Kinzinger, the young man who served in office in Congress, who basically lost his seat because he stood up to Donald Trump and his own party. He said the GOP is no longer a conservative party. He said that Donald Trump has suffocated the soul of his party, but that democracy knows no party. And he was happy to be with Democrats because he recognized one thing as he addressed the Republicans watching on the screen and watching from all over the country. He said, Democrats love democracy and this nation as much as conservative Republicans do. I'm paraphrasing him, But he said that, and then the chance of USA went out going forward. That was the fifth thing. The sixth thing, obviously, is the Harris speech for all the reasons that I gave going forward. This was a good speech, and I'm interested because Donald Trump promised on his failing company, Truth Social, that he would be debating each and every point that she made throughout her speech, that he would have a rebuttal. I gotta learn what he had to say to some of these things that she said, because the things that she pointed out were emphatic, were truthful, and were things that people have said about this man for decades. And she laid it all bare. And so I would love to hear what his experience has been and what his expectation was when he was responding in time with what she was saying. Listen, folks, I'm going to leave you with this before we get out of here. This is one of my last sort of comments. I call it my commentary, my way. There's Tim Walz on the stage. What a great VP. What a great speech he gave last night. What a good ticket this is going forward. If I'm going to go to war, I want to go to war with this ticket. This ticket is the team I'll ride or die with. It's a ticket that I think most Americans, definitely most Democrats, and I think most independents at this stage feel like they can trust. And that was what she had to do tonight. Kamala Harris had to show that she was trustworthy, that the country and the nation could trust her with the keys to the presidency, that they could trust her with the key to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I think she passed all the tests that she needed to do. My commentary, my way. I'm going to end it with this. We're at a crossroads in this election. I don't think it is a news flash to anybody. The state of the race is, even after this election, this convention, which I expected to get a small bump. There are very few big bumps that happen at the conventions anymore. We're so polarized as a nation. We're so much into our various ideological camps. There's not a lot of movement that happens between voters. At one time in the 90s and early 2000s and before then, people got 5 and 6 point bumps out of the convention. I don't think she'll get that. Donald Trump didn't get any bump after the RNC. We've documented that. She might get a 1 or 2 percentage bump, and that will put her maybe 2 or 3 points up on Donald Trump. When you add into these statistical, back and forth, the statistical issues here, that it essentially means that the race is tied. And so we start off tied. And the crosstabs, I think, will show that our path to get to 50% is greater in battleground states than Donald Trump. Donald Trump, I think, and MAGA, particularly the way he's campaigned only to his base in the hope that the base will, come out in record numbers and that'll be enough to win. It's never enough for him to win. He is running a race by subtraction, but he will still be in the 40s and he will still go hard in that race. I think she has a greater ability to grow with more enthusiasm with Democrats. There's still room to grow there. There's room to grow with independents. Obviously, she has a lead. I think she can grow. And I think there's room to grow with the 15% of what I like to call the Ronald Reagan mainstream conservative Republicans who feel like MAGA is taking over their party. They're looking for a party, but they're looking to be able to trust Kamala Harris with their vote. This goes a long way to doing that, so she has room to grow. But I will say this with you as my second point in terms of the state of the race. I think the Trump and the GOP, particularly after this incredible convention, particularly after this great speech by Tim Walz, and then this incredible over-the-top speech by Kamala Harris, they're going to unleash a negative campaign against Harris and Walz that will be unprecedented. Donald Trump has already said his advisors keep telling him to talk policy. He's not going to do it. He's going to be nasty with them because he doesn't like them. And he mentioned them by name through an unsolicited source or an unnamed source, that he said basically, I don't like the Obamas. I don't like the Clintons or the Bidens. I don't like Kamala Harris. I don't like any of them. And I'm going to keep going nasty. He's going to get nastier. He's going to get worse. He's going to get more strident. He's going to say more lies. And the Republican Party and those social media content creators and that young guard of Matt Waltzes of the world and all the alt-right are going to go for the jugular. Look for AI memes. Look for AI photos. Look for just every manner of attack to come their way. They know they're short on time. They know they only have about 70 some odd days, 80 some odd days to really make this stuff stick. And they've been throwing everything at her and this ticket and the party, and nothing has stuck. The Republicans are actually making the same mistakes that the Democrats made in 2016 with Donald Trump, when all we thought we had to do was to tell the truth on him and shame the devil. We thought all we had to do was just say all the attacks we said on him. And you know what happened? It became like white noise to the American population and the voting public. And then we kept doubling down on it. And then Americans got angry about the attacks. And then we kept doubling down on top of that. And then Americans got sympathetic for that man and they voted for him. And by the narrowest of margins, he beat Hillary Clinton. Well, Republicans are doing the same thing. They haven't learned the lesson that we should have learned in 2016. They're going to continue to throw more at her and more at her. The problem is in 2016, it was a new tactic and it didn't, and it backfired on us. We are such a cynical nation right now that their attacks may actually hit their intended target just enough for us to lose in these close states. So beware that this fight is going to continue and it's going to get nastier and worse. And the Democratic Party and this ticket and those of us who support them are going to have to get nasty right back. We're going to have to hit harder than they hit us. If they listen, KRS-One, my favorite hip hop rapper of all time, said, if war comes with a 33, then peace comes with a 45. And we better understand that that's the way we got to fight if we plan on winning this race. The third thing I got to say before we leave is I'm not sure that America wants to be inclusive. This feels different than 2008. And I hate to throw cold water on our effort here because we need to have this effort to save America. I honestly, earnestly believe that. The reality, though, is, as Barack Obama said really, really good 2 days ago, he said, it may sound naive, but I believe America wants to be better, that we want to appeal to our higher angels of our consciousness, that we want to, at the end of the day, be a one America where we look out for each other and we, no matter where we come from and what race we are, what ethnicity we are, and what orientation we are, and what part of the country we come from, that we want to be together. We want to unify. We want to be together. And that was right, I think, in 2008. I think that was right in 2012. I think it was even right in 2020. I'm not sure that America is ready to rise to that high occasion again. I certainly hope that we are. And everyone who knows me knows I'm an eternal optimist. And I certainly pray that that's what at the root of it all, that Americans are decent and good people. But as Barack Obama said, from 2016 to now, we've had social media that has just disconnected us from a sense of shared purpose and common values and commonality, and has made us hate each other, has made us look at each other not as having difference of opinion, but if you don't agree with me, you're my enemy and you don't deserve to be heard from. We're in a part of our nation now where we're actually talking about, I'm going to take away your right to disagree with me. I'm going to hit you with facts and not give you any sourcing for it because it's just the way I feel. It just fits my worldview. It fits my ideology, and I'm going to advance that. And it's also, as Barack Obama said, it's made us lonely. It's made us disconnected. And that disconnection, that lack of family, a lack of neighborhood, a lack of community that Kamala Harris talked about so poignantly tonight, and that I grew up with in terms of a neighborhood where we all looked out for each other. My best friend growing up was Italian, the Naziolas across the street, and my second best friend was a Jamaican girl who lived right next door to us. I don't know if America is in that place right now to ascend to that. And I wonder if our better angels will be here for us to appeal to. I wonder if that is an option for us in today's balkanized world politically and balkanized America. I'm hopeful. I am extremely hopeful after this convention and after this great speech tonight that there is still enough Democrats and Republicans, independents and others out there who still believe that better is possible, who still believe that there is truth, there is data, there is fact that is incontrovertible and not debatable, and that we should cling to those things and find ourselves in avenues and spaces that we can work together, hear each other out, listen to each other, even if we don't change hearts and minds, and find some level of get along ability that we definitely need to solve and heal this nation. That's what this platform is for. That's what we do here on this platform and on my and on my TikTok page, Curious_Formula. Please go there, subscribe, like, and comment. Please subscribe, like, and comment here as well. We have more things coming down the pike, content-wise I think you'll like. But that's why we need more platforms like this. We don't expect everybody to agree here. Hell, we don't want everybody to agree here. But we want you to engage in honest conversation, honest debate. We want you to leave, and what we say here is break your algorithm. We want you to come out of your ideological cocoon and listen to each other. Walk a mile in somebody else's shoes. Listen to what they come. And when you come here, have your facts and your sources right. Stop listening to MSNBC. Stop listening to Fox Entertainment. Stop listening to Newsmax. Stop listening to News Nation. Stop listening to CNN, and think and research for yourself, because these people have an interest in keeping us divided. So find your fulcrum right here and find your middle, and let's try to heal our nation together as we heal the rifts with us personally. The last thing I'll say is this, another thing to be on alert for, that if we are successful and win this election, that the post-election certification issues and street justice is what we then have to look out for. In today's world, it is not enough to just win an election. It is not enough to just win on the ballots. There are enough certification law changes that have happened in enough states, battleground and otherwise, where we are going to have to go to court to defend a win, and know that there's going to be street justice. The calls for a bloodbath if Donald Trump loses will increase. He did it when he ran for the Republican nomination in 2016. He said it frankly, if I don't win the nomination, there'll be a bloodbath and there'll be fraud. He said if I don't win the election in 2016, it'll be a bloodbath and it'll be fraud. He said in 2020, if I don't win re-election, there'll be a bloodbath and it'll be fraud. And he's saying it now. And I'm telling you that if we get 2 weeks out from this election and the numbers show that he is losing this race, he will call for that kind of anarchy, not just after the election. He'll call for it on election day to stymie the vote. He'll do those kinds of things because that's how desperate he is. And we got to be ready and manned up for it. This is going to get uglier, a lot uglier than it's been. And we need to be we who believe in freedom, we who believe in America and the ideals and principles of this country need to be honest with ourselves and not be Pollyannish about this and not understand the severity and the cost and what this election actually means. And we got to be ready to fight for it. This is going to be decided by what I call the Elite Eight. The 8 states that we got to fight in are Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Arizona, New Mexico, Georgia, North Carolina, and yes, the one electoral vote that we can get in Nebraska if we win a congressional district there. That's the way the rules are set up there. We need to be doing everything we can. If you have not signed up to be on a phone bank, if you have not signed up to do something on this campaign, if you have not signed up to contribute dollars to this campaign, you need to. And I don't care if you don't like Democrats. I don't care if you don't like Kamala Harris or Tim Walz. That's not what's important here. It goes back to what Adam McKinzinger said, that this is a fight for democracy. This is a fight to right the system, because we have to stop Donald Trump so that we can get back to having honest debates between Republicans and Democrats, that we can have regular discussions and disagreements between regular Republicans and regular Democrats. What Donald Trump is not a Democrat. He's not a Republican. He is not even somebody who believes in democracy. He believes in something else. And I don't necessarily believe he just believes in himself, but he believes in something that is anti-constitutional, anti-American, and in a lot of ways is anti-humanity. And that's what we're standing up against. Political party affiliations aside, this is a fight not just for democracy, not just for our system, not just for our nation. This is a fight for humanity and for us being a decent country with morals, with principles, and a perspective that from the many comes the one. And I'll end it with this. Please subscribe, like, and comment here. Hit the notification bell so that you're made aware when we go live. I would love you to be here when we go live. We go live every Wednesday night right here on YouTube at 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be back going our lives next Wednesday. And I'm going to end it with this by just saying, stay curious. Remember, think. It ain't illegal yet. And a statement that I say when I give speeches outside, I say these kind of things, and I'm going to say it here. E pluribus unum, from the many, one. And that one stands for opponents, not enemies. Stay curious, folks. God bless.